Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. You are in for a treat today. We have episode 5 of our bonus series, Coffee and Tea with M&E, with my friend Michelle Byrd from the Busy Vibrant Mom podcast. So we are talking about all things back to school and the transition. Don't know how it's going for all of you. Going pretty well for us here. And also some of our time management hacks and how we are laughing through the chaos as best we can. So I hope you enjoy this bonus fun conversation between two moms who totally get the day-to-day of what you're going through. And I will be back next Thursday with our regularly scheduled episode. So what do you say? Grab that notebook, pen, or maybe just your coffee and tea, and let's dive in to this conversation with me and Michelle. Hey Mama, are you tired of your cluttered home and mile-long to-do lists but are too overwhelmed to know where to start? Do you lack the time and motivation and don't think you'll ever conquer the clutter? You're in the right place. I'm Emily, wife, boy mom, and declutter coach who has overcome the overwhelm in my own life through decluttering and simplifying. I believe every mom deserves the peace that comes from a clutter-free home. Ready to get your life back? Let's declutter your home, head, and heart together.
Hey friends, we're back with Emily and I, and we are recording another episode of Coffee and Tea with M&E. And so we want you to pull up a coffee and a chair and come join us.
Hey everyone. Very excited to be here. Always love chatting with my buddy Michelle.
It's always so fun. So Emily, just in case people haven't heard any of our episodes or don't know you, just mention who you are and like where people can connect with you.
Yeah. So you can find me over at Moms Overcoming Overwhelm. That's my podcast. I'm coming up on 3 years with the podcast, which is really cool.
Exciting.
And I have been going all in. I guess today's the first official day I'm going all in because my kids are back to school, but with my in-person decluttering and organizing services in Northern Virginia. And then I have a Facebook group where we do decluttering challenges. So I do some things if you're not in the DC area, and otherwise I'm really trying to work on building the business, the in-home. I really like the hand over hand and just being able to help people in real time, and nothing like getting all that stuff out of their house and then they're just so psyched to not have to deal with it anymore. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, it's always feels good to get some stuff out. I know we need to clean out our garage. We visited with some friends this weekend and they live in Tennessee, but they have a house up at Mount Hermon, which is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it's at this beautiful camp. And so they rent it out to pastors and other people who need to use it. And then they rent it out to families who stay there over family camp over the summer. But so they go there like kind of on the off season and clean up or, take care of projects that happen when you own a house. So they were participating in a garage sale. So they had gone through a lot of their stuff in the garage and was like getting rid of stuff. So
wow, that is one thing I've never done, is have like a garage sale or yard sale, because it just sort of is too much for me. I would just rather, even if I would make some money, I would rather just take stuff to the donation center. I also am not great about like haggling, and I don't deal well with anyone trying to haggle with me. I would rather just be like, I thought about maybe having a yard sale and everyone thought that maybe you had to pay, and I'd just be like, no, you can just take it. But I appreciate people that have the desire and the energy and the know-how to pull that off, because it does require quite a bit of planning.
right. Yeah. Yes, the planning and the like, I think a lot of times if we are going to do a garage sale, it's like, you start saving stuff and you start building things up because you're going to do a garage sale, and then maybe it happens or maybe it doesn't. So for me, I just can't need to just get rid of the stuff. It's too much to like wait for a garage sale. I just want to like give it to the next opportunity, whether it's a church or dropping it off at a donation place or whatever it is. I'm just ready to get rid of it.
Yeah, sometimes if you leave it in your house, it just gets kind of absorbed back into your house, and you're like, or your kids will find something and they're like, wait a minute, I thought that I didn't know you were getting rid of this. And so, yeah, I try to
do that quickly. And then also, I don't really like having stuff in my trunk. I know for some people, it doesn't bother them, but I'm like, okay, just like a load of laundry isn't done until it's fully done. Donations aren't donations until they're actually donated. So getting them actually to the final location is always what I try to do too, because otherwise it's like a mental clutter thing because it's something that you still haven't taken care of. So I totally agree.
Right. It just sits there and you keep looking at it. You walk past it. You eventually shove it under the rug or do something, but it's like there. Oh, all the things. Well, how did today go? Was the first day of you dropping off your kids in school?
Yeah, the bus stop was a hop in place today. We have a lot of families in the neighborhood, but also some new families. So there's probably like 20 some kids at the bus stop. It was a little bit wild, but yeah, everything went really well. And I was able to do the second year of a tradition, which is going to breakfast with some moms in the neighborhood. So after the kids get on the bus, then we go have some breakfast. And that was really nice. Got to go on a walk with my husband. So I'm just and talk to you. So I'm just kind of like taking it easy today. I did write a blog post for a friend all about back to school routines. So I kind of have it in mind as far as like, okay, these are some of the things that I'm going to be finalizing over the next couple of weeks, but also just recognizing it's a transition for everyone, like not just for the kids, but also for me as far as like how my time is being used and just really having patience and grace and being able to observe like what's working, what's not working, and not be super judgmental, but just kind of like be able to tweak things based upon how things go. So I'm approaching everything, I think, with a pretty like relaxed attitude in that way and just trying to have some foundational things in place. So yeah, and your back to basics challenge was very helpful for that to be able to get some things in mind with what I would want to think about and prepare for this, because I feel like we talked about this before, but just like the hype of back to school, sometimes all around you, there's all the like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do this. And for me, there really wasn't much of anything. Andrew needed a new backpack because his zipper was broken on his other one. And that was like it. Like we didn't do back to school shopping. They wanted to buy their lunches. I didn't have to pack any lunches. So it was pretty low key from a preparation standpoint for the first day of school for us.
Yeah, it so depends on the kids. And it depends on like the school and like if they're switching schools or they're switching grades and they suddenly need a bunch of new stuff and all the things. Yeah, and as much as I tried to be on top of it and like plan and like, okay, night before, one of mine goes, "Hey, mom, I don't have any PE clothes that fit." Dude, it's like the last minute possible. Tomorrow you're going to school. You couldn't have reminded me or mentioned it any other time. Like when I asked, hey, do you have PE clothes? Can you try them on? Any of that stuff weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, that would be too easy.
It's like the night before. And he's, of course, taller and bigger. He's like, these don't fit anymore. So we were like, okay, we'll order them right now. Take this note to your PE teacher. We know him. Just tell him they're coming.
Yeah, that's something where I think we don't have a lot of separate things to kind of keep track of that they need to be packing, whatever. But my oldest, Andrew, is supposedly starting strings this year. He has indicated his interest. So I think that's going to be an interesting experiment with him just having to take care of something, to be able to learn how to play it. He tends to be a perfectionist, and if things don't go well and they're not easy for him, he tends to get frustrated. And I mean, I played clarinet, and that had its own kind of learning curve and frustrations. But I always think about learning string instruments is a bit interesting sounding. So we'll see how that goes. But again, just kind of me anticipating the personalities and preferences of my kids to know how they might be adjusting these first few weeks and making sure we have a lot of margin and as much downtime as possible and getting to bed in a timely manner. Andrew wanted to have a sleepover on Saturday night, and we were all like, no, like that's just not all the moms. Like, we're like, no, this is not happening. We're not going to have a sleepover and get no sleep right before school starts. So there is some recalibration of expectations
He was probably like, this is a great time. It's the end of summer. School hasn't started yet.
Yeah. And then, of course, the one other time he had a sleepover, he got 0 hours of sleep. And he's like, well, it's because everyone was loud. And I go, well, that's kind of what happens. And it took him over a week to recover. Now that we know that, we need to be pretty intentional about that. But he's getting to be the age where he is a lot more concerned about what his friends are doing and being included or being left out. So there are some of those social development aspects for kids that also you may not have had to deal with something in the past. And all of a sudden you have the big emotions that are
Big emotions
that are coming with it. So yeah, I think that for me, I felt a little kind of nervous today. Like I had the back to school nervousness and anxiety. And I think it was just knowing some of the changes and some things you can anticipate, but some things you can't. And just being able to hold space for that is really my main goal, probably for the next like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I love that. How you said holding space, because there are like big emotions so our oldest is she's going to do flag football for the first time. And she did sports before a couple years back, but the girls that she was playing basketball with were not very nice and would say things behind her back and were not a good friend group. And so she had kind of a bad experience with that, where she was like, I don't want to play sports again. I don't want to be, if I play sports, I'm going to be on a team with these people and I don't want to be on a team with these people. So she hasn't played for a long time. So she hasn't had to kind of juggle, homework and after school activities and also doing other stuff. And so now she is having to juggle. Okay, I have practice after school and then I come home and I have to do my homework. And then we're eating and then maybe I have a little time, but then it's bedtime. When am I going to get this stuff done? She also has an art class that she loves that we had to, rejigger. Do you still want to do this? How is that going to fit in? And then now she's like, oh, and I'd like to do babysitting. Okay. Just make sure that so it's giving those reins of like letting them take control of their schedule. Okay. Do you think you have enough time to pull off babysitting, and not doing your homework that evening? Can you do some this weekend so you won't have as much? Like it's that kind of teaching, but like letting a little bit more leash of like, okay, this is your schedule. You get to make these choices and you get to suffer the consequences.
Yeah. And one of the things I was thinking about when I was preparing that blog post about routines is the reverse engineering aspect. So, okay. And the kids can do this too, depending on their age, but like, what is the ideal bedtime? Like, when do we want to have lights out? And then, of course, we do need some like winding down time before we do lights out. And then on the other side, like when are we getting back home from either the activity, if it's right after school or from school, and looking at that time. And a lot of times when kids are like, oh, my kids are kind of similar and that they're like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And they just know that they're interested in it and that they would like to do it, but they haven't actually looked at, can this realistically fit in to the confines of the day, and also that we're not doing one thing on top of the other, or we're trying to like eat our dinner as we're driving to, the sports practice and everything. So I think leading by example as much as we can, because if we have schedules that are jam-packed for ourselves and they see us rushing around, then it just seems kind of like normal. And I just feel more and more we have to be so intentional about like the margin and like the white space that we put in our days, because otherwise kids, I think sometimes, and I've noticed this with older kids that I've seen that have been really, I would say, overscheduled. Some people may not agree, but they kind of crave the adrenaline of like going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing always. And they don't even know how to like relax. So I'm very not concerned, but I want to make sure that my kids know how to manage their time well, but not be rushing from one thing to the next so that they can't sleep. And then it's like the snowball effect of the next day. So that's been one area that I really want to have some good foundational habits so that when they're teenagers and they're have more say over their schedules, they're kind of making good choices about how they're scheduling and managing their time.
Yeah. I think that's huge to model it. And then also to let them kind of play out a little bit like, okay, you want to do this? Well, then that means it's going to happen. We're going to be eating in the car, or we really value family dinner. So we're going to do it this way and you may not get this other thing done. So yeah, it's all those things. And as they get older, you have to like, give them a little bit more and a little bit more. It's tricky, but there's always a new stage in each age or in each new thing. Our youngest, we just got him a flip phone for the first time. So the older two have used old iPhones. My husband said, okay, we're going to keep these two really old iPhones until they're no longer supported by Apple and they're no longer updated. So he's like, we're just going to keep them until the end. And once they're no longer supported, we'll get them like a new old phone, used phone or whatever. So the youngest one, the other two started out with flip phones as well. But when they went to their high school that they're at, their junior high school, we needed to have like a way to communicate to say, hey, I'm out in front, hop in the car. Or then when they're doing sports, sometimes things change in the middle of the day of, oh, I'm not picking you up. Daddy's going to pick you up. Or this sports game got canceled and you need to do this. So we would have to communicate that with them, at least for logistics. And so the other two had a flip phone and they, of course, hated it. And like, it's really hard to text people because you have to type in all the buttons like as many times. And so, but our youngest just got one and he is thrilled that he now has it. So now he's practicing like when he goes to church or when he goes to youth group or some other event to take his phone with him and to make sure that it's charging. And to make sure that, he doesn't leave it places. But it's kind of like a training wheel phone because since it's a flip phone, it doesn't have as much information on it. You can't get on the internet. It's great. I love it because I'm like, we all should have flip phones. But eventually we do need to like teach them other things. So, and, being responsible with your phone and like, you don't look at it at the dinner table. You don't look at it while I'm talking to you, like all that kind of technology stuff of it lives in the office. It doesn't live in your room. So all those things, it's like a training wheel phone that he has currently.
Yeah. And talk about modeling good behavior. That's something that I'm very cognizant about, especially like at the dinner table. And I feel like my husband and I are aligned and really good about that. But sometimes in kind of other parts of our day, it's like, I think back before cell phones, it's like if you didn't know the answer for something, you're just like, okay, I don't know the answer. Or I'm going to look it up at some point later or go to the library or something. I don't know. But now it's like, oh, I don't know the answer to something I have to know. Like I have to know
Yes.
who this actor is in this movie and what other movies they've been in because they look familiar. And I think that my husband, I have it too, but he's more likely to be like, oh, I got to check this now. And just kind of having the phone be kind of like the normal part of the experience. I just know that our kids are always like paying attention and the boundaries that we put in place. So I've really appreciated kind of what you've shared about technology and kind of like the boundaries you have as far as like, this is where the phones live and this is how we use them and this is when we don't use them. And I'm not planning to get them phones anytime soon. In fact, our school district, they did just implement a new policy, which I think is phones cannot be used at all during the school day.
Yeah,
At all. And they
says
have
that
like
too.
the lockers. And I don't know why they didn't do that from the beginning, but my kids were so young, I didn't really pay attention. But I thought it was funny because in the communication, it said, oh, well, if you need to reach your kids during the school day, that you can call the office. I'm thinking, yes, because that's what that's what we've done for however many
That's
years.
right.
But I think they just recognized that the boundaries weren't being kept by the kids because the kids, I mean, why would they? Their brains are developing. It's exciting to have the cell phones. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to do some version of a dumb phone, flip phone, if we start it, just texting and calling and no internet. And because, yeah, I want to delay that as much as possible. And parents like you and other mom friends that I have, they've really kind of shown me that it's possible and that the results have been positive, at least in their cases for their kids, irregardless of any of the statistics about anxiety and all these different things that you hear about. I think for us, it's just more like they don't need it. Like they do not need the entire internet at their fingertips at a certain age. They don't need other people that they don't know to be able to contact them, like the safety issue. So yeah, every family has to decide, but I do very much appreciate your example of being able to do that because I'm taking notes.
You're so cute. So sweet. Yeah, I think we even had a contract. I can't remember if we had a technology contract when we gave them a computer or when we gave them a phone, but it says, this device belongs to me. I get to check it at any time. You're not allowed to like lock it or do it. You can't add apps without permission. So there's like some safety stuff you can put on, but still like people can get a hold of them through all kinds of means. And so it was a lot of like, and like when and when you can't use the phone or technology. And we had to set rules around like chatting because they are on their computer doing homework because all their stuff is online. But then on the side of the screen, they're chatting with their friends and doing history homework or whatever it is. And so we know that your brain isn't really focused on the history homework because you're also chatting with your buddies. And so, but we want them to have time to chat with their friends, but then they also need to do their homework. And we as, adults have that where it's hard to do all the things, right? So we had to kind of figure out, okay, you have X amount of time to chat with your friends. And so we set a timer and you had this much time. You can use it whenever, like you can get online and see if your buddies are online. If they're not online now, maybe you use your time later. But those were like all new things we had to figure out when each kid got a computer or got a phone or got kind of the next step.
Yeah, and it is very countercultural to be single tasking. I mean, it seems like a weird thing, like, oh, people actually do that. And I do think that's good to be instilling good study skills. I mean, I remember, again, this is showing my age, but back in college, I had AOL Instant Messenger. So this is
I loved AOL.
And even when you had that, it was like all your friends, but you could see who was like there or like who was like away. And I feel like there probably was something where you could be away or like set that intentionally so that, being able to like do your work and you weren't being interrupted every 2 seconds by somebody messaging you. But again, it's sometimes we have to put these artificial boundaries in place because otherwise it's just way too much distraction and way too much like opportunity for craziness to happen. And so I don't know. I mean, like you said, as they get older, you have to kind of balance that with like how much freedom and the leash, like you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's definitely a balancing thing. And, the first kid definitely gets the short straw because you haven't done it yet. You're still trying to figure it out. You're not sure, how much is 30 minutes an okay amount of time to talk to your friends? And, whereas with the third one, you're like, okay, these are the rules that are already set in place. We already know what we're doing about this. So he gets, a phone much earlier than they did because this is, I think Ashley was 8th grade when she got like used iPhone and she was like thrilled. Bo, I think he has one. So it was probably 7th grade. And so Enoch is 6th grade currently, and he has a flip phone. So it'll at least be like a good year that he's got to use that flip phone. All the fun things. So as we kind of like think about school and routines and things that are kind of moving around, is there anything that you've been like surprised about or maybe that you're excited about the kids doing? You mentioned instruments, but like, are they excited at their first, are they're at the same school or do they have a lot of the same kids in their class? Is it a lot of the like same stuff?
Yeah, Sean's very excited because he gets to move to the second floor of the school where the older kids are. So that was a big deal for him. And he kept saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I can't believe I'm a second grader. I can't believe it's so cute. I think that Andrew, both of them, again, excited to see friends, excited about, the new school year. They're going to be playing soccer this year, which they haven't done for a couple seasons. So that'll be kind of a new sort of shift in that. And I think that Andrew being in 4th grade is just spending time with his friends is becoming more and more important. So then the prioritizing of like, okay, well, we have family time or we need you home for dinner. And he didn't have a ton of homework last year, but who knows, like he might have more this year. And just being able to, as I like to say, you know, first things first. So let's make sure that we're prioritizing the right things. But yeah, I think overall they're just at a really fun age right now. I mean, yes, they're crazy and it can be exhausting with the boy energy and the wrestling and everything, but they're still at the point where they're excited to tell us things and to share things with us. And we don't have to do a lot to like get information out of them.
I love
And they're
that.
just, yeah, they're just excited to learn a lot. So it's a really fun time. I can't say that anything has surprised me yet. Ask me in a couple weeks and I might have a different answer, but I'm feeling good about the rhythm of our days. And I do like the fact that as I'm growing my business, I can kind of have guardrails around my time too. So I'm not feeling super rushed and I can still do some things that are important for my self-care and all of that. And I don't have to be like rushing from one thing to the next so that I have some transition time between focusing on work things and then them coming home and then kind of transitioning to the family time. So yeah, I'll let you know. How about you? Anything that surprised you? You guys have been back, I think, in school a little longer than we have. Anything surprise
So
you?
we've been back for about a week. This is our second week. So I think the main thing that surprised me is just it's a different schedule because we used to have two schools. So there would always be either my husband or the carpool group grabbing our oldest two, and then I would take the youngest one to school. And now they're all at the same school. So my husband, and we're not in a carpool group, which is weird, but which is something to get used to because sometimes it's like, we can't call these other people to be like, hey, we can't pick them up on Wednesday. Can you take them Wednesday? That it's us. And so in some ways it's like not as logistically easy, but then other ways we can force our kids to wait. Like we're not going to pick you up at 3 because the other one gets done at, 3:30 or 4. So we are not making 2 trips. So you're just going to have to do your homework in the library and we'll meet you after school. So there's ways you can like make your kids wait. Whereas if you're in a carpool, you feel like obligated, like, okay, I have to pick them up at 3, even if they're not doing sports or after school activities. And then it kind of gets jumbled. But the nice thing is that I get home from the gym, I say goodbye to them, my husband takes them, and then I get to hop in the shower. I get to start my morning. I get to like jump into work earlier than I used to because I don't have to run kids to school and then come back and do all the things.
Yeah, that's really nice. And then also when you're saying like the kids can do homework in the library, that's a good kind of guardrail there, because then you don't have to worry about doing it later and not nagging them, but like having to remind them constantly, while they're home. So that's really nice. Yeah, I think for me, the key is going to be now that I sort of have a lot of available time that I'm trying to obviously fill with clients, but there's obviously the back end work in order to find the people.
Right.
Is just being able to kind of structure my time. Sometimes if I don't structure it enough, then I tend to kind of float through the day and then I get to 3:30 or 3:45, I'm going out to the bus and it's that, what did I even do today type of feeling. So for me, I think obviously I never want to be like super rigid and like, oh, this is my 15-minute increment schedule, but just being able to have those top priorities for the day, viewing those the night before, like some of those anchor types of things that help me really prepare and feel good about the day. Because otherwise, if things are a little too loosey-goosey for me, then I feel anxious and I'm like, well, I should be doing this. And I don't typically have any issues with like focus, or I don't think I have any ADHD tendencies necessarily. But if I don't have like clear priorities, then I just kind of like flit around and do a bunch of different things. And then you don't really, at least I don't really feel like the day anything happened. I just sort of
Right.
like wasted the day. And that's one of the the best and worst things about being an entrepreneur is that you are setting your own schedule and you are figuring out your own time. And I love that. And I'm blessed to have that freedom. But then it's really like forcing myself to do things I don't want to do, which I'm not so good at doing that part.
Yeah, I think that's just a huge blind spot that I think a lot of people have. They think, oh yeah, I have all day to get these 3 things done. I don't have to pick up my kids until 2 or 3 or whatever. Like, okay, I have this whole big block of time that you don't realize, like, your time is actually valuable and you need to structure it and kind of time block your time. Not to say it, as you said, has to be super rigid, but if you're like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, let's see if I can get this done by 12, and then I'm going to have lunch. And then, then after that, I only have like an hour and a half, and then I got to go pick up my kids. So to think more in blocks of time, I've found are really helpful. And it does help too if you have a meeting. You're like, okay, what can I get done before the meeting or after? You kind of like bookmarks your day a little, but it definitely can be a challenge, especially I think when you jump back into it. Because summer, you kind of have all this time and you kind of do some things, and then maybe you take your kids to the park, and then you come back and do some more things, and then you come back. So you're kind of moving throughout your day. Whereas when you jump back into school, you then have structured time of like, you only have from 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock till like 2. And that's pretty much it. Cause then once you pick them up, and then you're helping them with homework, and the evening routine starts going, and then you have to get dinner ready. And then by the time you look at the clock, you're like, oh my gosh, it's 6, 7, 8 o'clock. And then you don't even remember what you were working on before if you have to go back and work on it. So you really find my brain is the best between all the way up till like 2. Like I can get a couple things done like later in the afternoon, but it just isn't as clean, and like I'm not thinking through things as well.
I'm the same way. Yeah, my energy level is gone by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But the other thing is that I put a lot of these projects kind of on the back burner because the time over the summer was so fragmented, and I felt like I never had like blocks of time to actually do things like I want to make new business cards, but doesn't seem like a big project. I mean, it's not, but you still have to figure it out. Like you still have to create it, It's an actual project. So for me, now it's like, oh, all systems go because they're back in school. And then it's almost like, oh, what do I start on first, So I have been working on kind of prioritizing based upon some things I have, like some speaking engagements and things where I want to actually give out my business card. So I'm able to like prioritize what I'm trying to do. Because otherwise, and I know that a lot of people struggle with this too, like everything seems important. So you're not really sure like where to start. So I'm trying to look at what are some of the events that are coming up that might dictate some of the things on my business that I want to work on first that are outside of like the daily or weekly things that are like the rinse and repeat, but kind of more of like those project things, because now I don't really have any excuse not to do them. It's like, I don't have any other part-time job. That's done. The summer is done. So now it's like, okay, time to dive in. Again, with me being my own boss, I need to probably figure out a way to be more disciplined on it, because I'm the one that reaps the benefit, but I'm also the one that if I don't do it and procrastinate on it, then there's an issue there. I'm an obliger, so I deal better with outside expectations on me rather than my own expectations on myself. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, about kind of growing the business and doing the podcast is just like, okay, I'm the only one that really cares whether this is happening or not. So that's been a challenge. But I agree with you, having the time frame and knowing like, okay, I want to be available to the kids and I want to do my highest energy thinking tasks up front because I know that my energy is going to be gone by the afternoon. That helps me to be able to prioritize, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, as you said, as an entrepreneur, there's lots of stuff you can get involved with, or it's hard to know what to work on first. I know doing the challenge was really fun, doing the back to basics challenge. And I hope a lot of moms like were able to take a lot of that stuff and just be encouraged, and also feel like you have like a toolkit going into the school year. And then now I'm rolling into, I'm going to start a group coaching course in the fall. I think it's just the best time for moms. You're still in transition. And then before you know it, the holidays hit and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even plan out for this. Or you get to Christmas and you're like, I have all these things. And so it can just feel, I think it's like a race from like the beginning of school till like the end of the year. Feels like it goes by so fast. And there's so many pieces that you have to kind of be aware of or look up and realize as you're like running down the road, like, oh yeah, soon it's going to be, Thanksgiving and then Christmas and what are we doing here? And so to have a little bit more thought about those things will then help as you jump in. So I'm excited to do coaching with some moms. I'm hoping that that'll just help, as I said, to make things a little smoother because it feels like it's just a season of transition and then you're just running.
Yeah. And I love the group coaching aspect, like the accountability, and also that kind of similar to when you and I chat. It's like someone thinks of something and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that, and just having that group mentality and being able to bounce ideas off of each other as far as like, okay, well, this is how I'm preparing so that when the holidays do come, you don't feel like you've been blindsided and you can start
Right.
now with some of those preparations. So, yay, I'm very excited for you to be starting that program.
It should be fun. And as I said, it's a good time. And yeah, I love doing the group things because the other people have different ideas and our brains work differently. Some things work great for people, some other things, don't as well. So it's really fun to have different ideas and try new things. And then some things are easier because I love that, like, if this isn't working, if some organizational way or notebook or planner or, tool isn't working, like, find something else that does work because there's so many things out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then I'm going on a few trips. You just got back from a trip, right?
Yeah, we went to the Outer Banks in July in North Carolina. It's funny, I posted on Facebook like, oh, we went to OBX, and someone was like, I have no idea what OBX means. Well, it's Outer Banks, in case you don't know. And that was the first time taking my kids there. I had gone growing up, and it was really great. I'm actually, as we're recording this, looking at some framed photos. We got professional photos done for the family, something that my mom really wanted with
That's
our
amazing.
extended family. So my brother, his wife, my nephew, and got some great shots of the boys. So that was really special. And then we did also spend a week in Pittsburgh with my in-laws and got to do some fun museums and some stuff in Pittsburgh. So it was a nice blend of travel and camps and being home. And I think the boys are just, again, at the age, it's really fun. Like, it's not pulling teeth either that they're so little that it's too much or that they're so old that they're like bored. They're genuinely like excited and interested to hang out with their grandparents and to see their cousins and to do these things. So it was a really great summer. And I mean, I am not like a summer person. It's my least favorite season. It's like hot and sticky here all the time. I don't sweat well. I don't like wearing shorts. Like, I don't like any of that. But it is fun to make the memories and to be able to spend time with family. So yeah, that was really great. And you guys were where? I can't remember. You were
We
gone.
went to Europe at the very
Right.
beginning, and that was a big thing. It was a lot of planning up front, but we went with my mom, who's almost 80. And so she did a great job of like, the kids did a great job helping her with their luggage. But we found that in London, there's a lot of escalators and stuff like that. And in the underground, but in Paris, it's all stairs. There's no escalators. So we were like tracking it to get to the next track, to get, find the next subway to get wherever that's next metro. And so she had to do a lot of stairs, a lot of walking. And then in Switzerland, we took a bunch of trains. So there, you're walking to the train and then walking to your hotel. You know, it was a lot more walking than I think she was expecting and a lot more stairs, but she did a great job. The kids did great. I was worried about the 10-hour flight that we're on, and my middle guy and I did not sleep. We tried. So at like 3 a.m. on the airplane, we just watched Moana. Like, we were trying to watch something that didn't have a whole lot of like drama or scary or, got us all worked up, but we just couldn't sleep. So we just ended up watching one on the plane. And so we had a great time. It was really fun. And I think they'll remember a lot of it because they're at that age where they can kind of remember. Whereas, trips that we took to Disneyland when they were really little, they can't remember that anymore. But, these ones, they were excited and it was a whole new place and they'd never been to Europe. They'd never seen the Alps. And so now they're kind of like, we're ready to go back. We're like, we need to, wait a couple years so we can like make up enough money to go back. It's like expensive with all of you people.
Yeah, my kids, even about like Disney World or even places more local, like Great Wolf Lodge is a like indoor water park type of thing that they really like. And they're like, oh, well, can we go? Like next week. Okay, we need to save something called money for these things. And I am definitely keeping with the minimalism stuff. I mean, I'm definitely more of like experiences versus stuff. So like I have no problem having a trip somewhere being like their birthday gift or, like the main Christmas gift or something. But still, we need to be able to save the money in between. But yeah, I think that they don't really grasp about like how much things cost. But I made the mistake of telling them that the beach house at the Outer Banks, since it was on the beach, it was like really expensive and not to ever expect that again because it's never going to happen again. And I gave them the number and that was a really big mistake because they go to everyone and they're like, and we stayed at the house and it cost this many $1,000s. And I'm like, oh, okay.
We're just trying to set expectations and be like, enjoy this time. We're going to have a great time.
They just latch on to the one thing and then they're like spouting it off to everyone. But yeah, just so that they understand, it's like why it was so important to us. Like my mom wanted us to be all together. It may not happen in this exact way again, but just to enjoy it. And similarly, I feel like they're old enough now to start remembering things. And I remember at 13 going to England for the first time because my grandmother is from Liverpool. So my dad has cousins in England.
Oh,
and that
so
was the
exciting.
first time. Yeah. So I was 13. My brother was 11. That was the first time that we had gone to another country. And I ended up, my parents were really big on travel. And I went to Germany twice in high school. I studied abroad there in college. And we still have family friends there. So I'm really wanting the boys to have some of those international experiences, maybe when they're a little bit older. But yeah, again, knowing they can handle like the longer trips and that kind of stuff. Exciting to start planning even these initial stages about what could like a fun family trip look like, to learn about other cultures and to really kind of give them that experience and exposure. So it's an exciting thing to look forward to.
Yeah, it is just fun when they're older. They can carry all their stuff. They can pack their luggage for the most part. And there's just a lot more you can do. And you can communicate on your phones, like what's happening and send each other stuff nowadays. And so there's just a lot, but it is just fun as they get older to travel with them. It's just like, we can't afford that all the time. So you just kind of save up for those big trips and then have a great time. So as we're kind of like wrapping up, is there anything you're thinking about like, oh, okay, as we're going into this season, this has been like the number one thing that's super helpful for me, or maybe super helpful for my kids during this season as we're just kind of starting in and transitioning?
Yeah, I know that in your Back to Basics series where I came on and we were talking about routines and stuff, the thing for me is I'm kind of separating out my activity, non-activity days, and then figuring out which meals are best suited for when we have the after school stuff. Because when I meal plan, I roughly am kind of thinking about that, but I want to have an actual list of like, these are the go-to meals that are great when we have sports. These are the meals that have a little bit more prep time that it's okay on a different day, and to separate that out on my brain, because I do not like the 2 or 3 o'clock feeling of like, okay, wait, we have soccer. Okay, what are we eating? Wait, I put this on the list, but does that still work? And did I defrost it? And that kind of mind chatter, I can't stand. So for me, I just want to do a little bit more of organizing of those meals, not so much like I have it right now in any list. It's like slow cooker meals or like chicken or beef or whatever, but to do like these are the after school activity go-to meals, and these are when we don't have activities. So that's probably the main thing that I'm going to be working on from like a system or routine aspect that I think is going to benefit me certainly, but hopefully my kids too, so that after school time goes a little bit smoother for everyone.
Yeah. I think for us, it's logistics with sports and trying to figure that out of like who's picking up who has games. And then also just getting them to bed on time. I feel like over the summer we got to bed late. And so now we're still kind of in that routine. They didn't get to bed last night until like 9. And so knowing that they're getting up at 6 every morning, 6:30, that like we got to get to start that ball rolling a little bit earlier in the evening.
Yeah. And I think knowing with the school transition, I mentioned before, just like having that wind down time, like having the ideal time for it to be lights out, but knowing that they're going to need to wind down. So for us, we're trying to do like reading before bed. So everyone is kind of in their own bedroom reading, as opposed to like over the summer, we're like, let's watch a movie like every single night. And then that goes to like right bedtime, and then it's kind of later, but who knows? Who really cares? We don't have to get up. So not really doing the exciting types of shows or even playing a family game. Like if your family's super competitive and you're playing like a game before bed, people might be like all riled up. So just more doing, okay, we're going to shower and then we're going to just read and have that wind down time so that when you have the lights out, it's more likely that they're actually going to fall asleep.
Right.
Not just
like
be staring at the ceiling.
Bed versus getting like excited about a movie and then dropping back down and then excited game and then, drop back down. So that's what we're trying to practice, but we're realizing, we, instead of, as you said, we finished watching the movie, now everybody get ready for bed. We have to like have a longer time to be like, okay, everybody upstairs. Now you can read for a little while, and then to help them kind of get settled.
Yeah. And for us, anytime they're done watching a show, sometimes they get up and they're like, whoa. So our newest thing is like, we all say to each other, calm, calm. Everyone is calm. Calmly walk up the stairs. Calmly go in here. Don't chase your brother. Don't hit your brother, So it does take some reminding, but we're working on more of those calmer transitions, especially right before bed. So I totally get that.
Yeah. Especially with boys.
Yes.
Yeah. Just ready to pounce on each other at any time. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I always love chatting with you.
Hey Mama, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, could you please share this episode with another mom who is feeling overwhelmed? Also, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star written review wherever you listen to your podcast. Finally, if you would like more support, come on over to our free Facebook group, tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm. Can't wait to connect with you soon.